Look, I mentioned last night that as we go about our daily lives, we've all got enough on our plate, I suppose, without being able to focus, as we should, on far greater issues that impact every one of the 25 million Australians. The first issue is undeniably China. The flip side is the appalling leadership of the West. There they were at the G7, genuflecting to the almost cognitively extinct Joe Biden. Yet, waiting in the wings to replace him, as must surely happen, is the ideologically dangerous Kamala Harris. A week ago, when all this G7 stuff was going on, the NATO leaders, quote, vowed to unite, unquote, to confront the systemic challenges posed by China's aggressive policies and put Russia on notice about its flouting of international law. What's happened since? Nothing. NATO couldn't make an impact on a pincushion. If we're going to confront China and Russia, who's done anything about Myanmar or the trashing of democracy in Hong Kong or the genocidal treatment of the Uyghurs, to say nothing of China's flouting of international law? We seem to have only just woken up that Land Bridge shouldn't have been given a lease until way into the next century over the port of Darwin. Land Bridge is a Chinese company. But when the Northern Territory government raised this with the Defence Department in 2015, it said the lease was not a problem. In December 2013, 8 years ago, the Chinese launched an all-out island-building campaign in the South China Sea. The islands became military bases. A large part of the Pacific Ocean has been annexed by the Chinese Communist Party. China cares nothing about international order. They expect the world to play by China's rules. I talked earlier this week about the Port of Newcastle, 50% Chinese-owned. 15 coalition MPs urging Treasurer Frydenberg to put a mechanism in place in the event of a substantial dispute. The Australian Competition and Consumer Commission Chair Rod Sims has called the Chinese control of the Port of Newcastle a monopoly. Josh Frydenberg said he's got advice from the National Competition Council that it shouldn't be declared a monopoly. It's Darwin revisited. Common sense would tell you that a Chinese state-owned enterprise will hurt Australian coal exporters, and so there should be a dispute mechanism in place in the event of a dispute. The port handles 40% of Australia's coal exports, but Liberal Premier Michael Baird gave the Chinese a 98-year lease and took the money. Then there's Daru, a $40 billion Chinese city in Papua New Guinea. You can get from Daru to Australia in 3 days in a rubber boat. Not a whimper from Canberra. Well, Matt Canavan is a rare beast, perfectly happy outside the ministry, albeit under new management with Barnaby Joyce as Deputy PM. He's written brilliantly about this very issue today, and he argues the rules must change. Senator Matt Canavan joins me. Matt, good evening. Thank you for your time. How should Australia be responding to all of this?
Well, Alan, we should make decisions in our country's interests. I argue in the Australian today, that's what we've always done, or when we've made good decisions, we've done that. It hasn't been other countries that have made this country rich and prosperous. It's been the decisions we've made to invest in industries, to open up our resource industries, which we export so much of. And yes, trade and development have all helped us, but the rules, the trade rules that we've relied on for decades have been abused to the point of being broken by the Chinese Communist Party. 20 years ago, China was welcomed into the World Trade Organization. There was a hope at the time that if China became more economically linked to the free and open Western world, that they would move politically to a free and open regime. Now, that's proven to be completely misguided. That has not happened. The reverse has happened. China has become more autocratic. We've seen the freedoms they've trashed in Hong Kong, the threats they're making to Taiwan, and we must recognise that. And if this rules-based order that we are apparently supporting, if it is leading to a situation where China can subsidise illegally its own industries and take over 60% of the world's steel supplies or steel production, the rules should be changed. They should be changed because it's not healthy for the world to have a Chinese communist dictatorship to control 60% of the production of such a key commodity as steel. So instead, we should be bringing those jobs back. We should be making steel here in this country. We're the biggest iron ore and coking coal exporter in the world, yet we are a net importer of steel now. But what are we focused on here in this building? I'm up on this hill. Can't wait to get home and get out of here, Alan. But we are focused on this thing called net zero emissions. That's what everyone's talking about.
Unbelievable.
Not about how we're going to confront the bullying and threatening we're seeing from China. Not how about we can bring manufacturing jobs home.
No, see, Matt, talking about that, I mean, many years ago, as you said, the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, we got hairs on our chest by saying, oh, we've got to reduce and remove tariffs, allegedly to lower the cost of imported goods, which would improve the cost of living. But we keep paying wages, which we must, far in excess of those we are competing with, who are making the same stuff as we were, refrigerators, washing machines, motor cars. Now, Kerry Packer used to say to me that the minimum tariff should be the difference between what we pay in wages and what our competitors pay in South Korea, China, Thailand, India. How do we prosper made in Australia when China, as you say, is subsidising industry?
Exactly right, Alan. Well, at the very least, the protection we give to our industries, and we should give protection to Australian jobs, should be there to reflect the illegal subsidies that are provided by other countries like China. We should correct for that, and we could with our own policies here. We should not allow a situation where it's okay for companies to import solar panels made in China from Australian coal, or used to be Australian coal, made with, we think, slave labour in the Xinjiang province.
Absolutely.
So clearly made under cost and with the abuse of human rights.
They're making their weapons with our iron ore.
Any ability of us to make solar panels, any ability of us to make solar panels is removed because there's cheap stuff made with slave labour.
But we're exporting the iron ore.
Compete.
We're exporting the iron ore. They're making weapons to damage us out of... Oh, come on. I mean...
exactly.
I mean, the carbon dioxide thing you mentioned, I mean, what the hell on this net zero emissions when China provide a third of the world's carbon dioxide emissions and are sitting there with their arms folded laughing at us?
Well, any of your viewers that has a discussion with someone where they say they support a net zero emissions target because apparently it's going to cool the planet and fix all these problems, just ask that person one question. Do they trust China? That's all you need to ask them. Do they trust China? Because if they don't trust China, I think any sensible person would not trust the Chinese Communist Party. If they do not trust China, then there is no way we should sign up to this deal, because all it will be a free kick to China. We'll cut our own emissions, we'll put more. Instead of protecting our jobs, we'll put another handicap on them. We'll send more jobs over to China. As you say, they'll sit back laughing and applauding what we're doing in the West. They'll pay some lip service to it all, as communists are pretty good at doing. And then they'll turn it around like they did last year and build 38.4 gigawatts of new coal-fired power and take all our jobs.
With our coal.
Why would we do that? What is the point of that? It won't cool the planet then, even if you believe in the climate change science and all those things. It won't cool the planet because the carbon dioxide will just come from China rather than Western countries. Yet we will handicap our own industries to a great expense.
Let me just make a point to my viewers. This man and Barnaby Joyce, I'm telling you, and I'm no dunce and I do some homework, these are the only two people who are making, in this country, only two politicians making a very simple point. It's undeniable that China is getting stronger. Therefore, why are we making ourselves weaker with a net zero emissions target, which has no hope of making us stronger and will make us economically weaker? That's the guy. Barnaby Joyce is saying that. Matt Canavan is saying that. How do you answer it?
Well, Alan, I do really worry here in this place when our commentariat, our financial community, our financial press are so focused on this mythical idea of getting to net zero emissions. Alan, the Australian Financial Review the other night had 5 articles the day after Barnaby was elected leader, 5 articles on their front page bemoaning the fact that net zero emissions may no longer be achievable. Why do you think our financial press is so invested in this? It's because, Alan, a net zero emissions target will give rise to an emissions trading scheme. And that will mean there'll be lots of money for bankers in trading mythical pieces of paper that apparently offset the guilt-ridden consumers of inner cities in this country. Now, I'm not against the banking industry. You need that. But sometimes our banking industry does things that doesn't add to our productive wealth. The mortgage-backed securities we saw years ago in the US that caused the global financial crisis. Lots of derivative products and speculation. And here there's another example where we create mythical wealth. It doesn't add up to anything, but a lot of people get rich by it, so you can understand why they want to do it. But we should be getting back to listening to the productive classes of this economy and our society, the people that should be making the steel, the people that will build factories, the people that will open up new farmland, the people that will build dams. They're the industries we should be supporting. And our finance sector should be supporting them. We shouldn't be having to support our finance sector through laws that would just make bankers richer.
Good on you. We've got to go. I've got one final difficult question to ask you. How many tries did you score yesterday?
Well, Alan, it's we have to let you cockroaches have a few wins. Unfortunately, I only got one try in, and I let one in, so I was carbon neutral, Alan. I was carbon neutral yesterday, and then you must have paid off the refs. We had a try disallowed, and you won. So
there you are
again.
Great work, Matt. Good to talk to you. We'll talk often and again. And there's a golden rule in politics: when you're sick of saying it, out there, they're only starting to hear it. I think they're starting to get this message. We're tired of it. Net zero carbon dioxide emissions. Senator Matt Canavan, thank you for your time.